Yay! What is up, everyone? Welcome to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 385. Sorry about the little delay there at the beginning.
It wouldn't be Ginger Runner without it.
Without some technical issue. We sit down to this live set every single day. We do daily live streams and stuff like that. Ginger Runner Live is our weekly show. Without fail, Ginger Runner Live, for some reason, we sit down and it's like, computer doesn't want to work. Headphones don't want to work, whatever it is. Regardless, we're so excited about tonight's show because we get to have a guest on that we haven't had on in so long. He's such a cool dude. David Laney is on the show tonight, and we're going to chat about all of his adventures. He's been just crushing the mountains up here in the Northwest, and we're going to talk to him about his plans for 2022.
Maybe some ice bath questions. We already have ice bath questions coming in.
I will say that 90% of tonight's show might be about ice baths.
Maybe our guest is in an ice bath.
We're going to find out by the end of the show. So sit back, relax, everyone. The show begins now. Ginger Runner. Yay! What is up, everyone? Welcome to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 385. Thank you for taking some time out of your busy Tuesdays to spend a little bit of it with us. Very fun show tonight.
Mm-hmm.
We get to talk with one of our favorite people. David Laney is going to be joining us on the show to chat all about his recent adventures up in the North Cascades and across the Pacific Northwest, as well as maybe plans for things that he has upcoming in 2022, including a little sneak peek, Tiger Claw. He has signed up, and he is, I'm hoping he's still coming, but yeah, he has signed up to run the Tiger Claw 50 miler.
Maybe this is the show where he breaks it to us that he's actually not coming.
First question right out of that. Like, are you excited about Tiger Claw?
No.
Sorry, I'm not going to come. We're going to introduce our guest here in just a second. But of course, it's not just myself. It's not just our guest. It's also Kim. Hi. How are you?
Doing well. Hi, everyone. Kim Tashima Newberry here, as always. And we are live. If you're new, pop into the chat room and say hello. There's already lively conversation going on in there. And of course, if you have guests for our wonderful questions.
Yeah, if you have guests for our questions.
If you have questions for our wonderful guests, you can ask them in there as well.
We also have some individuals that we like to thank at the top of every episode of Ginger Runner Live. It is our GR crew. It is because of them that we're able to do this every single week. We've now been doing this for close to, I should actually do the math one of these days, but almost a decade. I think 6 or 7 years we've been doing Ginger Runner Live. I say almost a decade, and 6 to 7 is sort of like, well, it's like 75% of the way there. But a long time. So we've been doing this weekly, year in and year out, and we're so thankful that we get to do this. And it is because of our GR crew that we are. This show, including our daily live streams, including our reviews and films, they really help contribute to make all of that happen. If you would like to join the GR crew, all you got to do is go to patreon.com/thegingerrunner. All tiers get access to some really fun perks. We do daily live streams called Daily Brew, where we talk about running, life, all sorts of fun stuff. And $5 tiers and above get access to that. 2 individuals in particular at the top tier on Patreon are huge contributors. We're just so thankful that we're able to call them our friends, but also huge support systems and our Patreon producers. Rick Bjarnason, he's a ultra runner out of British Columbia, Canada, and owns the company cheekymonkeymedia.ca. They're a web design company that redid the gingerrunner.com website. Rick is awesome, and we're very thankful for him. And Brian Sands, longtime supporter, longtime crew member, often in the chat room. I'm not sure if he's in there tonight, but he might visit us here in a little bit. But we are huge Brian Sands fans, and we're very appreciative of what he does for us here as well. So thank you, Brian, for all that you do, and for Rick as well. Without further ado, I would like to welcome to the show our guest coming to us, although actually I don't know where he is. He could be coming to us from Washington. He could be coming to us from Europe.
Or like a lake in the middle of nowhere.
He's in the ice
That
bath.
was a delay.
That was the delay. Without further ado, our dear friend, David Laney.
Yay!
How you guys doing?
Good. How are you doing, David? You too, man.
Good.
How you doing?
Yeah. Good. Yeah. How are you guys?
Good. So where are you?
I'm in Bellingham at the moment. Yeah.
Okay. So you are still up there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I am super curious. We haven't talked for
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. Well, we haven't had you on the show for a really long time, but we have, stayed in touch and stuff like that. Over the last couple of years, I've been really curious. I think last time we had you on, we sort of talked a bit about and sort of dove into not nomadic lifestyle so much, but you certainly are able to adventure deep into the mountains and spend long periods of time out there. I'm curious, over the last couple of years, have you been able to do that consistently? Like, what's your life been like since pandemic, and how maybe has it changed a little bit? Let's go back a
Yeah,
little
that's
bit.
a good, definitely. It's definitely been different. Yeah, there was so much unknown like that first year. I definitely stayed closer to home a little bit. But luckily closer to home is like literally the North Cascades.
Yeah.
So I got to explore a lot more things that I had always wanted to do in August and September and October. And I think that was like just really cool to be like forced to stay here and start checking all these things off that's just really beautiful in the backyard.
Yeah.
So that was really, really fun. And then, last year went to Sweden to race. So that was cool. You got to see something a little bit new too.
So you were able to travel. You were able to get out of the region and get to see some new trails.
It was tricky though. I kept like you had to get COVID tested like 8 times.
Right.
Like, so I was like, I'm gonna get stuck in some hotel. But it worked out okay.
I definitely like admire your ability to stay in the mountains. You purely what we see on social media, of course, is only one part, I know, to anyone's life. But it seems like you've been able to adventure and stay adventuring consistently. How much of that is true, or how much do you spend time actually like in town and grinding and replying to emails and doing work and that sort of thing? Like, how much of your life is spent?
That's it. Super good. You guys follow your boy Scott Jurek on Instagram?
Your boy Scott Jurek, yep.
Like maybe 6 months ago, he was like, David Laney caught green screening photos. So I thought that was very humorous. Yeah, how much time do I, in the summer, I feel like I'm outside a lot, like sleep in the car a lot, at the trailhead a lot. In the winter, it's definitely way more at home.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just snowy. And so the mountain trails are not super accessible. And starting this year, January 1st, I just started, along with running for Craft, I'm now working for Craft.
Cool.
So it's a lot more Zoom calls and normal work life.
Yeah.
So it's really flexible, but it's definitely more like normal work than just sleeping in the truck. And did I tell you guys I got a rat in my truck while I was asleep one night?
Like, I'm assuming
you sounded excited about that. Like, did I tell you guys I got this pet rat?
This doesn't
Well, he
sound
was
like
very
a pet
fine
rat.
if that's where this is going.
Yeah, this sounds different.
Unfortunately, I had to evict him. But
paying rent.
I was like at Cascade Pass sleeping, and I feel something on my face.
Oh.
And it's like midnight, and I wake up.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, that must have just been like a weird dream. And then like 30 seconds later, I hear like scratch, and I'm like, I think it was like a mouse. It was very friendly, polite, well-mannered, but yeah, I had to
You just asked it to leave.
Yeah, like how did you guys form a relationship, a bond? Is he a chef of a restaurant now? Like, how did
Ratatouille?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of mice at this trailhead. So
I bet, yeah.
I did much Google research and found the humane way to deter them from coming into your car is peppermint oil. So now I spray peppermint oil on the 4 tires every night before I go to bed.
Yeah, points of contact.
And they have stayed away so far. I also stopped keeping Doritos in the back of the
just like around your pillow at night.
Yeah, the little trail of Doritos up a tire. You sort of was like, maybe I shouldn't do that. It's inviting the wrong kind of company.
I also have heard that peppermint oil keeps spiders away.
Any spiders on the face? Any spider friends?
Not recently, so it might be a double. Yeah.
I have partaken in a face spider
What?
in our Seattle.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We basically
When
we
we
burned
first
that
moved
house
to
down.
Seattle.
Yeah. You mentioned it briefly, and I like this is something I've been wanting to talk to you about for a long time, and really any elite athlete. We don't.
Face is itchy. Sorry.
While you gather your spider
Get
face
composure.
senses here, one thing that we don't necessarily get to talk with elite athletes about regularly is just sort of this season, kind of around the December, January timeline. We see a lot of athletes sort of transition from sponsorships or new brands, and I'm
Yeah.
always a big fan of athletes being able to do this for a living, and you know, whether it's getting a paycheck or finding a brand that provides them with equipment and stuff like that. You know, I've known you amongst multiple flags of sponsorship over the years. I know that you've been with Kraft now for a while. How has this been from an elite athlete's perspective? You know, finding sponsorships, finding brands that believe in you and what you do, whether that's racing or trailhead living and being able to explore the mountains on a regular basis, and then transitioning that into full-time work. That's pretty cool to be able to do that. So what's that been like for you, and how is that from an elite athlete's perspective?
Yeah, it's been incredible. It's been a super fun last year and a half with Kraft. You know, it's just really it's a much smaller company. So
Right.
you know, we work with the corporate office in Sweden, and I got to go over there and meet all those folks, and we got along really well. Just a really great community. Uh, when I first signed, it was actually Tommy who reached out and was like, "Hey, would you be interested?" And he just said, "The Swedes are good people," and I was like, you know, like I know Tommy enough to just take his word on that. Um, and he was just like really true. Like they're just people who really care about you and really want you to succeed, regardless of the obstacles that you're facing, and they want to support their athletes in that. And so it's been incredible. I'm really thankful.
Yeah, it's been definitely an interesting brand to sort of follow as someone who reviews a bunch of
Mhm.
gear and stuff like that, to see much more US based athletes start to don the label, and it's been cool. I got my first actual bit of sample kit to start the review rotation, and it has like Tommy Rivers' fingerprints all over it. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
so much cool gear. Do you get say in how gear is designed? Like, do they look at their athletes and ask for feedback? So will you have regular input?
Totally, yeah. The designer lives in LA. The main footwear designer lives in LA, so we've met quite a bit. And then we had a whole team meeting this morning, super early, because the Sweden team is like finishing their workday, and we're all waking up. And so we got to go through all the spring summer 2023 styles and kind of give some feedback, and prototypes are on their way, and so we'll have another meeting in a couple weeks. So yeah, Tommy definitely kicked that process off, and
Mm.
now the whole team is kind of getting on board and doing giving feedback and working to develop a new product.
With, you know, we kind of touched on a little bit earlier with the pandemic and stuff like that. Has it been difficult as an elite athlete? Has there been challenges that you've had to face with the races? A lot of races in the first year being canceled, more races coming back a little bit in the second year, but still a lot of challenges, like you mentioned, travel challenges and stuff. Has it been challenging for you as an elite athlete? Is that why maybe you brought in a part-time or full-time position, because it is allowing you to sort of navigate other spaces beyond just being an athlete? Or what have been the biggest challenges that you've sort of faced during this?
I'll just be totally honest. I like having races canceled and being like, you can just go run in the mountains all day I was like, sweet. Like basically, like, you know, I was bummed to not see people, and there were
Yeah.
other huge factors that were challenging, but from a running standpoint, uh it was kind of like let the reins off, and you can just go do the things you want to do in the sport, and there's zero pressure, and you can try out try out new training, and just it was kind of like a reset year. So from like a COVID life standpoint, I was like, this is it was brutal. like it was for most people.
Hmm.
But from a running standpoint, it was kind of fine. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and of all the people that we know, you are for sure one that we admire because of your dedication to the outdoors, to the open spaces, and being able to dedicate so much of your day to those spaces.
Mhm.
It's always great to follow you and to know, man, like where is David next? You know, like what peaks is he bagging next? And it feels great because many of them are local. Obviously,
Mhm.
Washington State, if you're in this region, or BC or Oregon or wherever you might be, it's really cool to see what you get up to because we know it's our backyard. But it's
Yeah.
been cool to see you be able to do that almost to the nth degree more, like you've just sort of
Mhm.
been freed to go out and just explore and explore and explore.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
With no race on the schedule, it's really easy to be like, oh, I'll just go walk around all day, which is fun.
Where do I get to go to next? We do have a
Yeah.
lot of live questions for David Laney. If you are watching live and you have any questions for David, please drop them into the chat and we'll pull them aside. You've got a couple from whether Discord or from the live show. What do you got?
Yeah, I have a few questions from our Discord server. This one comes from Yasa, and Yasa says, David, you share your ice baths on social media regularly. How did this, I presume the Wim Hof method, make it into your personal rituals, and how has it influenced your training and or recovery?
Yeah, that's a super good question. I've liked cold water like my whole life. Like I mean, you grow up in Pacific Northwest, that's kind of your swimming option.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, I guess, and I've always liked ice bathing. I guess in the past 2 or 3 years, I've started doing it on a more daily basis. Partially because it's like, I think more mental than physical. Like, I think there's physical benefits. I think I feel better. Um, I think high energy or not high energy. I think a lot of us are predisposed to like feeling. I don't know if anxiety is the right word, but um, like I'm keyed up a lot. Like I have a lot of energy, and I need something to kind of chill. Uh, and I think like getting in that cold water is like a total reset. Um, it's like it almost calms down distractions. So it's
Mm.
almost like coffee that makes me less like going 100 miles a minute in 50 different directions. And I'm like, okay, here are my tasks. Here's the things I want to accomplish. And then the other thing I think it does is it's really like I don't like it. Like it's not like I feel great. This is like a spa day. Um, and so it kind of gets you to that point in an ultra where you're like, this is horrible, but I'm just going to sit here in this moment and just kind of like let it wash over me. And then if you do that every day, I think you're just like, it kind of becomes a part of you like that, sitting in discomfort for just a few minutes. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I imagine it just forces you to be present in that moment. And
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
kind of all you're focusing on.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
feel like I've been seeing an uptick in a lot of sort of home activities, whether that's yoga, like we've been talking about yoga
Yeah.
nonstop because
Uh-huh.
we've been doing it a lot since the pandemic began. And I've
Mhm.
seen a lot of people take up ice baths, whether it's in the morning or at night before they go to bed, like it helps with sleep or,
Totally.
all these different sort of anecdotal, personal connections with it. I hadn't really thought of it in a sense of like microdosing suffering in a small amount every single
Yeah,
day.
totally.
Obviously, in ultra, you take a big bite out of something like 100 mile or whatever, and you're guaranteed of hitting some sort of suffer wall where you're gonna like, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
sitting in this dark place for minutes, hours, days,
Yeah.
and that it almost sounds like that ice bath is like, let's just do a little bit of that every single day
Totally.
and just like mental practice of it, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
You also, it seems like you get the benefit of doing it in actual alpine lakes,
In nature.
in actual nature.
Yeah. Right. It's kind of fun.
How far out do you end up? You live in the Bellingham region. How far out do you
Mhm.
have to get to some of these locations, like proximity to some of these trails and these epic mountain views and stuff? How How close are you?
Um, Mount Baker is 80 minutes away, so that's kind of the closest. Mount Shuckson's kind of that same trailhead. I think like North Cascades Highway is like an hour and a half. So everything's within 2 hours.
Nice.
Yeah,
It's
similar
got
to you guys. Similar to that I-90 corridor.
Yeah, the I-90 corridor is nice. I
Yeah,
know that Bellingham is sort of the same. You've got just this east-west corridor that
totally.
gets you right to
Yeah,
the, but you got Baker. Like Baker is big peaks, and you probably have so much stuff to
yeah,
play on out there. Let's get to maybe
yeah.
one more live question, and then we'll start talking about like what's going on for this year, because I'm kind of excited to see what David has in works.
Yeah, a question from Brian F. from our Discord server. Brian asks, beyond race performances, what impact do you hope to have on the running community more broadly?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of my biggest goals is to get new people running. So how do we make like doing 100 miles not the goal? How do we like inspire people to, speaking of 100 miles, that the film you guys put out, Angela Kujar,
Mm-hmm.
it was incredible.
Oh, thanks,
Just
man.
absolutely loved it. And it was fun to watch her on Ginger Live last week. But
She's in the
yes,
chat
just
today, so she'll love that you actually watched the movie. Like,
it was
she's
unbelievably
awesome.
inspiring. Yeah, super inspiring.
Thanks,
Yeah,
man.
big props to everybody involved with that. But yeah, so I think anybody can run 100 miles, honestly. But I think if you go into something thinking I want to do a 100 miler, it's just a really big thing to get off. I think
Yeah.
if we can get more people doing like run a 5K or jog a mile, the more we can get new people into running or activity, that would make me happy. So that's my biggest goal, is not to turn runners into ultra runners, but to turn people who have difficulty running uh, down the block into people who could run 5K every day for the
Yeah.
rest of their life. Uh, so that's kind of like one of my goals, to have an impact on the sport. Um, yeah, that's
I love that.
Yeah, I love that. It's like the kind of simplifying it and opening the door for more inclusion and more accessibility, rather than look at
totally.
it being like, oh, if you want to be a trail runner, everybody's ultimate goal is to run 100 miles. I think that's really daunting and can be really discouraging.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very cool.
Yeah, and I love that too, coming from you, David, because you do have a resume that is stout. I mean, you've run
And all
some
the
of the
coaching experience.
all the coaching experience. You've coached athletes of all ages and abilities. You also have a resume that is bonkers. Like, you've raced some of the biggest races in the world on some of the biggest stages and had incredible performances and podium spots and everything. And to hear you be able to recognize that it's about bringing people into the sport. It's not about convincing people to run 100 miles, right? Like, it's about inspiring people to just give it a shot. I love that. Is this a perspective you've always had? Is this new? Is it seeing runners like Tommy? Is it having experience now? You obviously have many, many years in the sport. Is it sort of the culmination of all of that experience?
That's a great question. I think it's yeah, definitely a combination. When we started Trails and Tarmac, the goal was not particularly to coach elite runners or recreational
Yeah.
runners or anything. The goal has always been to get the world running. And so,
Mm.
you know, I shouldn't say this publicly, but we coach a lot of folks for free or for very little, who are brand new runners. And we always, like, if you haven't run, you've never finished a 5K, send me an email, because we love to work with that kind of folks. Just because it is such a like people are just so psyched, and
Yeah.
that's like so much fun, to have somebody who's like, a year ago I could not jog a mile, and I finished my first 5K. And it's like, that's what's inspiring. Like, who cares if some dude who's been running for 20 years runs like runs 5 seconds faster for him, whatever. Like, what's inspiring is seeing people like Angela do something unbelievable, and people who have never run finish a 5K, and then they sign up for a half marathon and do that, and then it's like, you're defying logic. And that's super fun.
I love this. I love this because I think you just distilled down our passion for this sport in a way that gets me really excited. Anytime I hear someone like you who does have such a great platform, but also the resume to back it up, saying things like you want to help people finish the 5K that haven't finished a 5K, or you want to get people inspired to be in the sport. Like, that is such an amazing way to grow the sport. I totally agree. It's one thing we have so many amazing runners in our sport who are doing incredible things, running 100 miles, setting FKTs, doing all this big stuff, who are just, their bodies are designed to be perfect athletes, and that's not always what people can identify with. But people can watch a story like Angela's or someone who's running their first 5K and go, hey, maybe maybe I could do that, whether that's run a mile, run a 5K, or run 100. Like, I love it, man. I love hearing you say that. It makes me excited to know what you got planned for this year. So, most oftentimes I'm like, what races do you have? And what are you planning on doing? All these exciting adventures. I'm going to change that now. And I'm curious, what are you doing this year to sort of like grow the sport of running? Because it sounds like you've been thinking about this for some time, and like, I'm stoked, man.
Yeah. I think one of the easiest ways is like breaking down some of these myths, just posting on Instagram. So, I think one I hit like probably too annoyingly frequently is like, you should walk uphill. That's something I'm always like, if you are huffing and puffing uphill, like, everyone thinks that if they're doing a trail run, they need to be running. And I'm like, no, I walk up. Like, walking is fantastic. Everyone should be walking.
It's true.
It's true.
So yeah, and like, it shouldn't, like, these things shouldn't always be hard. Like, running is inherently a challenge for, regardless of your level. But especially at the beginning of COVID, when a lot of people were getting into running, I would see people just like running so hard down the sidewalk, like really working. And yeah, I didn't want to bug them then, but like, I think writing about that and getting that information out there, that like, try and make it easy. Like, try and walk, and then walk a little faster, and then jog. It doesn't have to be like a workout. Like, it shouldn't be like going to the weight room. And yeah, it's tricky to sell that to people too, like convince them
Right.
running should feel easy, because you inherently want to do something that's hard, but you kind of have to balance that with the patience it takes to commit to the long term.
I bet that's one of the most difficult things as a coach too, is to convince your athletes to take easy days easy, because there's a majority easy days, and the definition of easy is going to be different for every person. But to really listen to that and distill that down to easy is probably a difficult thing to coach.
Yeah. I mean, I don't listen. I've had hundreds of coaches tell me, you need to run a little easier, and I'm like, man, whatever. So yeah, I'm the biggest hypocrite of them all. But I think you can get people to buy in, to realize that your goal is not to run a 5K a little bit faster. Your goal is to run a 5K 6 days a week for the next 50 years, or whatever, or to walk a 5K. Like, it really doesn't matter. Yeah, so part of that will be working. My new job with Craft is retail accounts, and doing events, and doing group runs and stuff like that. So I think a big part of that will be hoping to draw in new people. to the sport and to, check out these retail stores and do craft stuff.
Man, that's
Yeah.
awesome. I'm excited about
Yeah, it's gonna
that.
be fun.
I can't wait to see what you bring to Tiger Claw. I do want to kind of briefly talk about that
Yeah.
because you did sign up for the
Yeah.
50 mile. You were one of the first to sign up for a brand new 50-mile distance.
Oh, as soon as I saw that, I was so excited.
And I will add Angela Kujar, also one of the first to sign up for the 50-mile distance.
Fantastic.
I think it went David Laney,
Fantastic.
Angela Kujar.
Sweet.
You ran our inaugural year. You won our inaugural year, the Tiger Claw course, which is since kind of grown and changed and been kind of gone through its phasing of like, let's make it more difficult. I am very curious what you are doing to train for something like Tiger Claw double, because it is 50 miles with close to 16,000 feet of vert. It's a beast. What are you doing to train for it, and like, what should we expect when David Laney rolls up?
Yeah, that's a good question. If you guys have any advice, let me know. Yeah, what am I doing to train for it? So I'm running Gorge 100K.
Yes.
Which will be a flatter one about a month and a half before. So that'll probably be like, a big part of my training, just do a long day 6 weeks before. We've got a couple really steep climbs in Bellingham here. And I'll probably just I don't power hike that much in training. I have before, but I'll probably do 2 pretty hard power hike workouts before Tiger Claw, and then just climb a lot on my long runs. Have one really specific, and the downhill is really killer because 6 downhills. So run some a little bit technical downhill, really at race pace, all out. Do some downhill specific workouts.
Because it is the first year, we're quite curious how it will work, as far as what is going to be the toughest part about it. Is it going to be the descent? I would think the descent.
I think it's gonna be the second half descent.
Yeah, the second half descents, because you reverse the loops.
Yeah.
You're going to start. It's the same amount.
Coming down section line on fresh legs is
it's going to be spicy.
Difficult.
It's going to be spicy. I mean, we're hopefully no face plants, but we're so excited to have you, David. And when we saw you sign up, it was like, oh man, David has some plans this year. Are you going back to Europe? Are you doing any summer travel? Are you looking forward to anything really big this
There's
year?
a question about UTMB in the chat
Always,
as well.
Always.
Yeah, so I will be running UTMB. So Tiger Claw is proportionally pretty similar to UTMB.
Okay.
And that's one reason I was really excited about it.
That's going to be amazing to follow. Anytime David goes to Europe, I just want a movie. It's David goes to Europe, and it's just watching him shred the Alps, because I think there's something fun about watching you run in those mountains, because it also feels similar to the mountains that you run in here. You are one
natural in your
you look
seems
natural
like it's your natural environment.
I am curious if because you have the unique perspective of being able to compare. Obviously, the Alps have so much more depth as far as elevation or altitude and the rich culture and history there in those mountains, whereas the North Cascades obviously much more remote. How do they compare? How is it a great place to train, or is it not a great place to train? Or give us some perspective on what it's like in this region compared to there.
Yeah, that's a great question. So in the North Cascades, every single run I go on, I see at least one bear, without fail. There's bears everywhere up here. In Europe, every single time you go, you see at least one coffee hut. Ones are steeper and bigger in Europe, but they look very similar. But they're you can take a tram 90% of the way up, or all the way.
Yeah.
Here it's you're gonna drive down a road for an hour, and a dirt road, and there's 3 cars at the parking, at the trailhead, and you see maybe one other person. Yeah, it's just it's like totally wild and like not civilized, but just like yeah, just totally different mountains. They're both like scary and wild in their own way.
Yeah.
But yeah, just totally different culture around it.
I actually didn't know what you were going to say. Here there are bears, there are, and I was like, man, he's going to say cows, cowbells.
Is it rats?
Yeah,
Is it
cows.
spiders?
Definitely cows.
Could be anything. I did not expect coffee huts. But
Yeah,
that does,
lattes. Yeah.
latte, just coffee brewers and refugios and hotels up in the top of
Cheese.
cheese.
Totally. Yeah.
But it does offer like a unique perspective as to big mountains there are respected, but also recreated on. It feels like just by everybody. It's sort of a part of the culture there is to enjoy the mountains to some degree. And there's lots of wild places here. And I know that you get out pretty deep into the North Cascades, and that's pretty awesome. I'm assuming you see, like you said, a couple cars at the trailheads. When you are actually out there, do you ever, are there runs where you just don't see a single human?
Yeah. So what I try and start really early in the morning and go, if I'm doing an out and back, I'll see people come in when I'm on my way back. But if I'm doing a loop, I'll try and do it the most popular way so that I'm going with traffic so that ideally no one's passing me. And, I'll see people at the end a little bit, but there's plenty of days that, there's no one else out there.
Wow. Man, that's pretty great.
We guys got to go sometime. We'll do something together. It'd be fun.
Yeah, we haven't been up there in a bit of time.
Yeah.
We will be coming up for checking out to spectate and to support and stuff like that. We plan on doing more trips up north as the snow begins to melt. Every time I see you ski too, I'm like, God, I just need to bring my skis up there.
Yeah.
It just seems like such a great place to do some skimo stuff. And
it's fun.
Yeah, I think that's another reason why I really just enjoy you, David, and also, your Instagram and stuff. It's because every time I see a photo, I'm like, he's in freaking Europe right now, or he's traveling to the Andes or something. But it's like, nope, he is an hour and a half north of here, and we just need to enjoy this incredible backyard we have. Probably want to get to one more live question before we wrap up the main show here with David Laney, and then we'll move into our after show. So Kim, go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, question from Brian. Brian asks, David, what is it about race events that keeps you coming back to the same ones year after year? What draws you in?
That's a great question. I mean, a lot of things. I think Tiger Claw, I'm just like, it's just so Pacific Northwest. Like, it's like just everything about it. From the archway to like the people to the course to the way you guys do everything. Like, it just feels like home. So I'm really excited about that race. I'm going back to UTMB. I love the race, but I also just like have a lot of friends over there, and it just feels like even going there kind of feels like going home. It's like for a few years I was spending like a month every summer there.
Yeah. And
I guess seeing friends and a good excuse to be in the mountains is a big reason to go back to the same races.
I like that question, especially for someone like David, who does have so many opportunities to see so many races around the world. But when we saw you sign up for Tiger Club, we just got so excited. It was just having you, even though we know you're fairly local, you being able to toe the line at our race is like, it's an honor to have you there. We truly love you, man.
It's an honor to race.
Well, we'll see if you still say that after the 50 miler.
Oh, I definitely will. I'll be complaining. No.
Eric, we appreciate the super chat here. Eric just dropped in with the super chat here before the end of the show. So it's got to run to pizza for dinner, but here's to a first drop for the Ginger Kim travel fund to the UTMB. Good luck, David, in your own races. Onward and on. So thank you, Eric. We appreciate that super chat comment. We are going to wrap up our main show here with the wonderful David Laney, and we're going to move right into our after show. So if you would like to join our after show, just head on over to patreon.com/thegingerrunner. But of course, David, where can people find you on social media? Where can they follow along with these adventures and this really amazing new perspective that you're pushing for the years to come to get more people into the sport? Where can people follow you and also see great photos of ice baths?
Yeah, Instagram's probably the best. Yeah.
Fantastic. Our wonderful guest tonight has been the incredible David Laney. We're so appreciative of his time. We're going to move right into the after show. But of course, before we do like to recognize members of the community who go above and beyond in what we are calling our GR crew member of the week. Kim, who's this week's GR crew member?
This week's GR crew member of the week is Tony Larimore, and Tony ran the Icy 8 trail race in Virginia this past weekend, and it is a timed event where you just do as many loops around this frozen lake as possible.
She crushed it. Huge shout out, Tony. Congratulations on being our GR crew member of the week. We appreciate you all so much. Thank you for tuning in to Ginger Runner Live episode number 385. We'll see you next week for more fun. Speaking of Chuckanut, I think next week we might have the race director of Chuckanut talking about the race and her new book. We'll keep you posted on that. But thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you in the after show. Have a good night.
Thanks all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ginger Runner.